Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today we're tackling this motivational script called The Power Within, Building Resilience and Perseverance. You know, these self-help things can be a little cheesy sometimes,
hmm
but this one's got some really cool imagery and real-life examples of how to deal with tough times and, reach your goals. I'm excited to see what we can pull out of this one for you.
Yeah, it seems like it'll have some good stuff in it.
Okay, so the script starts off by defining resilience as like a tree, bending but not breaking in the wind.
Right.
I think that's a great visual.
Yeah.
It really shows how you have to adapt and bounce back from the hard times.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. It really highlights that flexibility and strength that's part of resilience. We
Yeah.
tend to think of resilience as like this rigid, unyielding force.
Hmm.
But in reality, it's more about being able to adapt to whatever pressures are around us and still keep our core strength.
Right. It's about weathering the storm, not just like avoiding it altogether. So the script defines perseverance as the fuel that keeps us going even when things get rough.
Mhm.
I feel like everybody has a story about a time they had to push through something difficult. Have you ever had to persevere to achieve a goal?
Oh, of course. Anything you work on for a long time needs perseverance. I remember when I was writing my dissertation. Oh, it was terrible. I hit a wall like 6 months in, doubted all my research, felt like I didn't know what I was doing,
Wow.
seriously thought about just giving up, but I took a break, reminded myself why I even started the project, broke down the work into smaller steps,
Oh, that's smart.
and that helped me get back on track and finish it.
Yeah.
It was tough, though.
That's a great example of perseverance, and I think it highlights something important. It's not just about willpower. It's about having a strategy to help you deal with the challenges along the way.
Yeah.
The script actually lays out 3 steps for cultivating resilience: self-awareness, mindset shift, and building a support system.
And those all build on each other, which I think is interesting. You need to know yourself to understand your strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
And then you can shift your mindset to focus on those strengths and work on the weaknesses. And having a good support system helps you stay on track and keeps you encouraged when you're feeling down.
It's like a 3-legged stool. You need all 3 legs to be strong. So let's break down each step. The script talks about journaling to help with self-awareness. How do you feel about that?
Journaling is powerful. It lets you really process your thoughts and emotions, figure out patterns in your behavior, and learn what motivates you and what brings you down. It's like having a conversation with yourself, but on paper.
I can see that, like having those aha moments when you see it written out. So
Yeah.
the next step is mindset shift. The script talks about reframing negative thoughts into more positive ones. But how do we actually do that?
Well, the script mentions this thing called cognitive reframing. You have to like catch your negative thoughts and challenge them. Like if you're thinking, I'm going to fail this presentation, ask yourself, what evidence do I have to think that?
Oh, like that.
A lot of the time, those negative thoughts are just based on fear, not reality.
Right, it's about being objective and questioning those automatic negative thoughts. The script also talks about self-care as part of building resilience. What are your thoughts?
Self-care is crucial. It's not selfish or anything. It's just acknowledging that you can't do anything if you're running on empty. You need to prioritize your physical and mental health to have the energy and resilience to deal with things. The script talks about things like exercise, healthy eating, and getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
What about you? What are some things you do for self-care?
I like to take like 15 minutes every morning to meditate or do some breathing exercises. It really sets me up for the day. And I love going for walks outside. It's great for clearing my head.
I can see that. It's just about finding what works for you and making it part of your routine.
Exactly. Now, the third step in building resilience is creating a good support system. It talks about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up and encourage you. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's so important. We're social creatures. We need support to really thrive. A strong support system protects you from stress, gives you new perspectives, and celebrates your wins with you.
It's like having your own cheer squad.
Exactly. It can come from anywhere, too. Friends, family, mentors, online groups. The important thing is that they actually care about you and want you to succeed.
So we've got the 3 steps: self-awareness, mindset shift, and support system. But the script doesn't stop there. It also goes into nurturing perseverance,
Right.
which is all about keeping that momentum going even when you hit a roadblock.
And that's where things get interesting. It gives 3 main strategies for developing perseverance. I think our listeners will really get a lot out of these.
Let's hear them.
It suggests setting clear goals, breaking down large tasks, and embracing discipline.
Yeah.
These are the core strategies for nurturing perseverance.
The clear goals thing really resonates with me. It's like having a roadmap for your journey.
Right.
If you don't know where you're going, you'll get lost.
Exactly. Having a vision of what you're trying to achieve helps you stay motivated and on track,
Hmm.
especially when things get hard.
Right.
The script talks about making goals smart,
Oh, yeah.
specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Oh, right. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a good framework.
But even with a clear goal, sometimes things just feel so overwhelming. Like the task is just too big. That's where breaking things down comes in, right?
Yeah. It uses this analogy of a mountain climber. You wouldn't climb Everest in one jump, would you?
No way.
It's the same with big goals. You got to break them down into smaller steps and focus on one at a time.
Right.
Each step might seem small on its own,
Right.
but together they get you to the top.
I love that. It makes the whole thing less scary, like focusing on the next mile marker, not the whole marathon.
Exactly. And that's where discipline comes in. The script has this quote, "Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going."
Wow, that's so true. We've all felt that initial excitement when you start something new, but then it fades, and you need discipline to keep going.
Yeah, discipline is about showing up even when you don't feel like it. Sticking to the plan, even with distractions. It's that consistent effort that leads to success in the long run.
Hmm. The script also talks about practical things you can do, like time blocking, using a planner, or having a morning routine. Do you use any of those?
I'm all about time blocking. Scheduling specific blocks of time for different tasks really helps me prioritize.
Yeah,
It makes you think realistically about what you can actually get done in a day.
that's a good point. I think we all underestimate how long things take sometimes.
Yeah, and then we end up feeling overwhelmed. Time blocking helps with that.
And the script talks about self-care in this context, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about pushing yourself all the time. It's about knowing when to rest and recharge.
Right. You can't burn yourself out.
Exactly.
Self-care is a big part of resilience and perseverance.
It's about keeping yourself going, not running yourself into the ground.
Right.
So we've got all these great strategies,
Mhm.
but I'm really curious about how they work in real life. I'm fascinated by the section on real-life inspiration.
Me too. It's always interesting to see these concepts in action, especially in people who have overcome so much.
Yeah, it highlights people like J.K. Rowling, Nelson Mandela, and Malala Yousafzai. They all dealt with crazy challenges,
Right.
but they achieved incredible things.
I think we can learn a lot from their stories.
Let's start with J.K. Rowling. The script mentions that she got rejected a ton before finding a publisher for Harry Potter.
Mhm.
But it doesn't just mention it. It talks about how she used those rejections to fuel her.
Right. It points out that she would actually use the feedback from publishers to revise her manuscript.
Wow.
She would incorporate suggestions, but she always stayed true to her vision.
That's amazing.
It wasn't just about being stubborn, it was about using those setbacks as opportunities to improve her work.
I never thought about it like that. She wasn't just sending out the same thing over and over.
Right.
She was learning from each rejection and making her book better.
Exactly. I think that's a great lesson for anyone working towards something, whether it's creative, professional, or personal. Rejection and setbacks will happen. It's all about how you respond to them that determines your success.
You have to have that growth mindset, seeing challenges as chances to learn and get better.
Absolutely. Speaking of facing huge challenges, the script also looks at Nelson Mandela.
His story is incredible. 27 years in prison for fighting against apartheid. It's hard to imagine the strength and resilience he must have had, not just to survive that, but to come out of it with a message of forgiveness and reconciliation.
It really shows the power of believing in something
Hmm.
and being committed to fighting for what's right, even when things are incredibly difficult.
It shows that resilience isn't just about bouncing back from personal stuff.
Yeah.
It's about staying true to your values and fighting for what you believe in, even in the face of huge adversity.
Exactly.
And I think his story shows how resilience and perseverance are linked. You need both to endure something like that and then keep fighting for equality after the haze.
Yeah. Absolutely. They work together to help us through tough times and reach our goals.
And then there's a more recent example, Malala Yousafzai.
Yeah, her story is so powerful, and I think it really speaks to younger generations.
The script talks about how she was shot by the Taliban for advocating for girls' education.
It's crazy to think about what some people face for standing up for what they believe in.
But it's even more remarkable how she responded.
Right.
She didn't let it silence her.
Yeah.
She used it to become an even stronger advocate for education and equality.
She turned a horrible experience into something positive.
It shows that resilience isn't just about bouncing back.
Yeah.
It's about using your experiences to make a difference in the world.
It's about turning pain into power, and that's inspiring.
I think these stories show us that resilience and perseverance aren't just for extraordinary people. They're inside all of us.
Absolutely.
They're just waiting to be developed.
And the script does a great job of connecting these stories back to our own lives. It reminds us that we can learn from these people, not just admire them.
So how do we take these stories and use them in our own lives? What does the script say? Well, it says that we should think about these stories and see what connects with our own challenges. Like if you're stuck creatively, think about how J.K. Rowling used feedback to make her work better. If you're feeling overwhelmed by a big project, remember how committed Nelson Mandela was to his cause? And if you're having trouble staying motivated, think about how much Malala believed in her mission.
Yeah, those are great examples. It's about finding those connections that inspire you and give you a way forward. We're not supposed to copy their journeys exactly.
Right.
It's about taking those principles and using them in our own lives.
So we shouldn't compare ourselves to them and feel bad. They're human too. They had struggles and doubts just like us.
Exactly. The point is that they persevere. Resilience and perseverance aren't like superpowers. They're skills you can learn and get better at.
Right.
The script wants us to see them as role models, people who show how powerful the human spirit can be.
It's a really empowering message, especially for people who are struggling with self-doubt or feeling discouraged.
Absolutely. We all have the ability to be resilient and persevere.
Yeah.
It's about finding that inner strength and developing it over time.
And it's not about being perfect or never messing up. It's about learning from your mistakes and adapting
Right.
and keeping going even when things get tough.
The script says that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process.
That's a great way to look at it. Instead of being scared of failure, you can see it as a step towards your goals.
Exactly. And I think seeing these real life examples makes it much more real. It's different from just reading about it in a textbook.
Yeah, you can really connect with it.
It shows that it's possible. These qualities can change lives.
I love how the script combines all these things, the definitions, the strategies, the inspiring stories, and the call to action.
It's not just giving you information, it wants you to change your mindset and take control of your own life.
That's what makes it so powerful. It doesn't just say be resilient. It shows you how.
And it gives you hope.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the power within, what are some key takeaways for our listener?
Well, the first thing is to remember that resilience and perseverance aren't things you're born with. You build them up over time,
It takes effort.
but you can do it. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
There will be good times and bad times, but what matters is how you deal with them.
So true.
And don't forget about self-care. It's super important for staying resilient and persevering in the long run.
You can't push yourself too hard.
Right.
You have to find a balance.
And lastly, remember the stories we talked about. They show that even when things are really tough, the human spirit can overcome anything.
They remind us of what we're all capable of.
So as you go on your own journey, remember what we discussed today.
Be self-aware, have a growth mindset, build a support system, set clear goals, break down big tasks, be disciplined, take care of yourself, and never underestimate your own strength.
And most importantly, don't give up on your dreams.
I love that. We hope this deep dive gave you some good insights and tools to use in your own life.
Remember, resilience and perseverance are ongoing things. Every step you take makes you stronger and more able to live a meaningful life.
Until next time, keep learning and growing, and keep reaching for your full potential.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.